community centers around our children. Minister, under Section 81 of the IRPA, how many warrants for arrests were issued last year, and what were the results of these warrants?
The federal government spent $1 billion on hotel rooms for asylum seekers.
I just want to be clear, there are presently, per your testimony, no asylum claimants in any hotel or temporary accommodation in Canada right now.
I said there's no asylum claimants in hotel accommodations, IRC. No, there isn't. I didn't say there. Obviously, there's.
So you're
correct.
not paying. So you're not paying for those asylum claimants that were in hotels to be in other places right now in any way, shape, or form.
So
This Guy's Garage. Like and subscribe.
Good afternoon, everyone, and warm welcome to all of you, and a special welcome to our Polish-Canadian student guests who are here today. We are very privileged to have the Minister of Immigration, Citizenship and Refugees here with us again to introduce the immigration elements of Bill C-12.
What a mess. There's over 300,000 asylum claims. Your government, that will likely take 25 years to process the backlog. Your government has spent almost over $2 billion on things like hotel rooms for bogus asylum claimants. Bogus asylum claimants are getting resources that Canadians aren't eligible for, and here we are today. Minister, the Canadian Bar Association, Refugee Lab, Amnesty International, and other legal advocacy groups have argued that the immigration provisions found in Bill C-12 are unconstitutional. Several of them have said that they are preparing for challenges, that there could be over 24,000 court challenges. Have you, Minister, directed your officials to begin preparing to defend the provisions of this bill in court in advance of these challenges?
So thank you very much, member, for that question. There's two parts to it. The first, you're talking about asylum. So our government is committed to rebuilding Canadians' trust in Canada's immigration system.
Thank you.
Making our borders stronger.
Question, and Chair, I realize but I asked a pointed question, so I expect a pointed response. Have you directed your officials to begin preparing for legal challenges to defend those in court? You're asking us to support this bill. It is highly likely to be challenged in the courts. Have you directed your officials to begin preparing legal defenses?
So thank you for the question. Again, the intent of the ineligibility measures are to protect the integrity and the efficiency of the in-Canada asylum system against sudden increases.
Thank you. So I'll take that as a no. With your word salad, which is just really unfortunate because you are asking us to support this bill, which virtually every legal association in the country has said is unconstitutional, and you're word salading us on whether or not you have directed your officials to begin preparing it. So would you say that it is fair to characterize, given that what you've just said, that this is an attempt by the Liberal government to punt the mess of the asylum system to the courts?
So again, I don't know what salad you're speaking of, but the courts have confirmed that neither the Chair nor the Refugee Convention require a particular form of refugee determination process. In this legislation, we have the PRA system, the pre-removal risk disorder, the pre-removal order, and so the government's position is that these provisions are consistent with both the Charter and with the Canada's international refugee law obligations.
So I'll just ask one of your officials, is in the ministry's opinion, is the asylum deadline contained in Bill C-12 Charter compliant? Anybody? No?
Can I get a clarification, Madam Chair, the deadline?
What
Correct.
deadline?
So it's the deadline by which that somebody has to apply. I think that there's an arbitrary timeline. Is that Charter compliant?
So again, our assessment based on the bill being tabled is the provisions are consistent.
Thank you. Okay. So these provisions are going to be appealed. Minister, you haven't directed your officials to begin preparing to defend these appeals, so it's highly likely that many people will perceive the measures in this bill as a way to just punt. The government is punting this to the courts. Have you consulted with your provincial colleagues and come up with a cost estimate of the legal costs it will, cost provincial governments in terms of bogus asylum claims challenging the provisions in this bill?
Well, again, charter challenges would go through the federal court system, and that is the
Yeah, but there are
responsibility
legal-
of the federal government, and I've got the
Yes, but
justice officials here.
who pays for the legal aid, Minister?
That is the responsibility of federal government.
But there's also provincial support that happens as well, too, right? And that's what you haven't done. You haven't gone to provincial governments, as you guys hashtag welcome to Canada, 300,000 plus bogus asylum claimants across the border from the U.S. I digress. A recent news story involved over 200 similar stories where applications for asylum were used. They used copy and paste language, and they all shared a similar immigration consultant. Why doesn't Bill C-12 contain provisions to require asylum claimants to state their reasons for claiming asylum orally on the record upon arriving into Canada to prevent this type of fraud?
Look, excellent. Look, these are excellent. That's exactly why we're here today, to study these provisions. These are to protect us against fraud.
Yes,
and about fraudulent
so that's
claim.
not in the bill. Why isn't it in the bill?
The approach targets fraud in individual applications as well as a coordinated fraud scheme to prevent systemic abuse within the immigration and citizenship programs, and does hold actors
I don't
accountable.
think that's not in the bill. Shouldn't asylum claimants have to prove that they made their claim in a timely manner instead of making the government do so? And why didn't you include that provision in Bill C-12?
So there are clear provisions in this act
But not
in terms
that
of the
provision.
ineligibility rules,
Not that
the one-year
provision.
deadline and the 14-day.
But those are likely to be punched at the courts, and some simple switches, which could have prevented people from abusing the asylum system, you chose not to include, which is interesting. Minister, have you done any sort of studies on the totality of costs of bogus asylum claimants with regard to benefits across the across jurisdictions over the last 6 years?
I just recently met with the the provincial territorial, and we actually discussed, that was part of the discussion that we also talked about it. We talked about the federal support.
What was the total cost?
I'm sorry, that's time. You're going to have to continue this in the next round.
But as we know, an important part of Bill C-12 concerns the ability of the government to share information, whether that's across departments or with law enforcement and with the provinces and territories. Can either one of you please outline how the bill's information sharing provisions will improve cooperation and coordination across government partners?
So, I mean, I can start and then I can turn it to for a bit more. But part of the bill that has been introduced would be to improve how client information is shared within IRCC and with federal, provincial, and territorial government partners. I think that is an extremely, extremely important part of the provisions, because it would facilitate the sharing of immigration, of citizenship, of passport information with our domestic partners to help improve the integrity of government programs and really provide better client service. And of course, we take privacy seriously. There are safeguards. We will need to have regulations.
But I just want to pick up on something you said to MP Sohi. You were talking about the temporary population, and did I hear you say that it's going to be 2029 before we see 5% of the population?
I believe that's the Francophone target. 2029. Thank you for that. The 5%, 2027. Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Which, if you don't mind, brings up another question I think we're all curious about. The levels plan is due on 2 days from now, and wondering when will you be tabling that in Parliament?
Okay. Yes, thank you for that question. So the Prime Minister last week indicated that the immigration levels planning will be part of the budget that will be tabled November 4th.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Now, to Bill C-12, it creates a new regulatory making authority in Section 87 of the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act. Essentially, it gives Cabinet the power to cancel immigration applications and documents en masse. Obviously, this provision was added to be used. So which applications do you plan on canceling?
So what I could tell you is the legislation was not drawn with that in mind at all. So in terms of canceling anything specific.
Okay, so just hold on then.
Please, yeah, go ahead.
So you created a new section, went through a lot of work to put this new law into the regulations with no intention of ever using it?
Oh, I'm not saying it will never be